In this video, I'm going to show you 10 things that make you undermine your elegance and can ruin your image. Hi, how are you? Welcome to the Etiquette and Protocol channel. I'm Juliana Santiago, etiquette teacher and co-founder of IEP, which is the Institute of Etiquette and Protocol. And in this video, we're going to talk a little more about things that can harm your image, especially the nonverbal side of your image, your visual presentation, things along those lines. As I always emphasize here on the channel, that elegance is associated with what you see on the outside. All this nonverbal communication you project, but also your attitudes and your behavior. After all, it's no use being perfect on the outside if on the inside you don't have empathy, respect, or consideration for others. And here on the channel, I always talk about elegance being connected to the combination of these two things, your appearance and the attitudes you have. In this video, we're going to focus a little more on the appearance aspect. But of course, good behavior can't be left behind. The first mistake is using too much perfume. Many times we associate bad odor with something that ruins our image. And it really does. It's not good to smell unpleasant. However, using too much perfume is also another mistake that people make. Often, out of fear of having a bad odor, people overdo the amount of perfume they use. And then wherever they go, we can smell them, we can sense their presence. And for a moment, it can be interesting because you might be like creating an identity. People recognize you by your scent. But in the long run, in excess, this can make people completely uncomfortable and harm your image. Because people will want to stay away from you. Who hasn't ever smelled too much perfume and sometimes even started to get a headache when standing next to someone who wears too much? So be very careful with this tip. Still talking about excesses, wearing too much makeup is also something that makes you lose your elegance. Elegant women, visually speaking, are always enhancing their beauty. And in fact, makeup can enhance your best features, hide something, and even boost your self-esteem. But too much makeup makes you lose your elegance, and you end up at a point where it just looks overdone, you know? So this really affects your image and can even make you known for it. Sometimes people comment like, wow, have you seen her? She's always wearing a lot of makeup. It's important for us to emphasize that makeup also depends a lot on the context and setting. For example, at a wedding or at a nighttime party, wearing a bit more makeup can make sense. However, in everyday life, too much makeup might not be ideal if you want to achieve that elegant look. That elegant look, you know, the visual elegance that many people talk about is really connected to you fitting in well with the setting, you know? You being in harmony with that environment. So it's worth asking yourself, wow, does this amount of makeup fit with what I want to express, with what I want to convey? It's important for me to observe. Another thing that also ruins your image is not having your nails done. You know when someone starts to have their nail polish peeling off like only half of the nail is covered? That's not good. If for some reason your nails aren't done, don't leave the nail polish halfway on your nails, okay? Just get some nail polish remover, use it on your nails, and file them a little. Yeah, to look elegant, you don't necessarily need to have nail polish on your nails. No, they can just be clear. That's not a problem, but having unkempt nails is very inelegant. Another thing that isn't associated with an elegant image is very long nails. Unfortunately, even though they're in fashion, very long nails, besides drawing a lot of attention to what you do and the movements you make with your hands, can also make you lose a bit of that more elegant image we're trying to build, right? If you're watching this video, you probably want to build an image. So don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and also follow me on social media, Etiquette Protocolo as well. In fact, over on Instagram, I always post a lot of content, put up question boxes, and you can have your questions answered there. See you there. Another mistake we need to talk about, which could really be ruining your image, is having a phone with very old, dirty cases or even cracked screens. especially if you work in customer service, if you sell a product, work as a service provider in some places, and are in contact with other people. The appearance of your phone is also essential for building your image. Imagine you're completely dressed appropriately, properly, elegantly, but your accessories, especially your phone, don't communicate that same message. It's worth paying attention to this, especially when the phone case starts turning a bit yellow. It's that transparent model that gets yellow over time. Unfortunately, this happens with some models, and it really affects the aesthetics and your presentation. And this applies not only to your phone, but to all the other accessories you use. For example, a pen that's chewed up, a dirty computer, a torn bag. All of this also affects your communication and your elegance as well. Another factor that also really affects elegance, and I think this might be a bit controversial because it depends a little on personal taste, but we need to talk about very tight clothes. I don't think you need to wear loose clothes because that's also not going to help you build an elegant image. But your clothes need to be your size, regardless of your weight or body type. They need to be appropriate and comfortable for you. Very tight clothes don't convey the image of an elegant person. Very loose clothes also won't give that same impression. Your clothes need to fit your body properly. For example, with a pair of jeans, if they're really tight and everything is squeezed in, sometimes you can't even walk properly. That's not going to make you look elegant. So it's important for you to pay attention to the size of your clothes and your garments. Another point, still talking about clothes, we need to mention wrinkled clothes. Nowadays, there are some fabrics on the market that don't need to be ironed, high-tech fabrics. And that's very positive because it helps you avoid making this mistake. But there are some clothes that need to be ironed before you wear them. So it's really important for you to check the condition of that piece of clothing and see if it's appropriate to wear. Very wrinkled clothes will give off a more careless, messy impression, which won't really be associated with an elegant style. It's also important for us to notice that some fabrics get wrinkled just from handling them, like linen, for example. And really, it's important for you to pay attention when you're going to wear fabrics like this. For example, like I'm mentioning here with linen. If you're in a situation where you need to look more formal, more organized, and need appropriate, well-adapted clothing, does it make sense for you to choose fabrics like linen? Now, at the beach, in a more relaxed setting, at a barbecue, on an outing, or at a park, for example, fabrics like linen can make sense. So it's really all about appropriateness. Sometimes even a very elegant fabric like linen can actually make you stumble and prevent that elegant atmosphere, that sophisticated image from standing out. Another point also talking about clothing that is important for you to notice is the issue of ripped jeans. You know those really distressed jeans? It might even be in fashion, it might make sense for your personal style and you might like it. But honestly, there's no way to say that ripped clothing won't take away that elegant image. There's just no way, guys. Ripped clothing will take away that sense of elegance. So it's important for you to notice that even if something is trendy or fashionable, it often might not give you the image you're looking for. In our case, here we're talking about a more elegant look, but it will have a more relaxed, more laid-back vibe. And then you need to consider whether you want to add these elements to your visual communication. And it's inevitable because clothes have the power to communicate non-verbally. So, the earrings you choose, the way you decide to style your hair, the blouse you wear, all of that will convey important information to the other person who will interpret it. Even without knowing you, even without talking to you, they get information about who you are and what you want to convey, especially at work. This has a very important impact because clothes can have the ability to build an image, even if it's nonverbal, in that setting. So having this sensitivity about clothing changes the game for many people. It's important for us to pay attention to that. Another thing also talking about clothes is too much branding. Many people associate designer clothes like Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Dolce & Gabbana as a great way to project an elegant image. But that's not really the case. Many people mix a lot of brands and logos on their clothes, and that creates too much information and visual clutter. So it's not appealing. If you want, for example, to wear a Gucci belt, do you really need to wear a Dolce & Gabbana blouse? Wouldn't it be better to wear a simpler blouse, something that creates a more discreet look? That doesn't mean you can't wear branded items, but this excess of brands isn't appealing. It doesn't create an elegant image. Contrary to what many people think, that's not the way to go. It's important to balance the use of brands, even if they're luxury brands. And of course, this non-verbal communication through clothing is what we're talking about in this video. It's essential for people to better understand who you are, to be able to identify your traits and your personality. And here we've already seen that you can adjust several things to bring a touch of elegance to your appearance. But unfortunately, it's not just your clothing that matters, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video. That's why at the Etiquette and Protocol Institute, we have a comprehensive etiquette and manners course, a comprehensive course for you to learn the correct way to communicate verbally or to have good nonverbal communication through your gestures, body language, and posture. This course has already been taken by thousands of people. And if you haven't taken this training yet, I recommend that you join now. On the website below, use coupon code YouTube, which will give you a special discount so you can take your first course at our school. If you follow the videos here on the channel and haven't taken any training yet, use coupon code YouTube, sign up, and come be a part of it. Another thing, also talking about aspects of your clothing that will have a big influence, we need to mention. About bags, I talked about the phone case, and really everyone, your bag, your backpack, your computer case. All of that will also communicate strongly when you present yourself. For example, if you go to work and show up with a torn bag, or if you're going to sell something and you arrive with your laptop. Then the laptop case is all dirty, the laptop backpack is all dirty. All of that will send a negative message. Oh, Juliana, that's just a detail, yes. But today, the market is extremely competitive and you can stand out, bring this positive aspect to your image by taking care of the details. So it's the pen you choose, the case for your cell phone. And now on this point that I want to emphasize here. Your bag, of course, doesn't need to be anything luxurious, but it's important that it's a presentable bag. It can't be falling apart. That will send a negative message about you. And another factor as well, which I think can also come into play, especially when it comes to first impressions, to help you build a more elegant image, there's the matter of using prints. There are, in fact, elegant prints and combinations of prints that can give you an elegant look. But for those who have difficulty, I think it's something important to pay attention to. If you have trouble wearing prints, if you're not sure whether your print is appropriate or elegant, and you want to convey that elegant message, avoid using prints. It will definitely be a safer and easier path for you. I'm sure that if you go down this path, you'll have a more certain, safer path, So I think it's important for us to emphasize that. And of course, there are other factors as well that can make or break your first impression. And I've already made a video here on the channel talking about that, which I'll leave here for you to watch next. That's it for now. See you later.